Inside California's deadliest prisons, a war has simmered for generations. Two powerful forces, La AMI, the Mexican Mafia, and Nuestra Familia, rose from the darkness and built empires behind bars. Their rivalry shaped street politics, prison politics, and thousands of lives. Today, we unravel how two brotherhoods turned into enemies, and why their conflict refuses to die even after 50 years. Stay with me, because the truth behind this war is more twisted than you think. Welcome back to Gangster Chronicles, where we break down the untold stories behind America's most feared criminal networks. If you've watched my videos on La AME and NF before, this episode puts everything together. In this documentary-style breakdown, we'll explore how these two giants were born, what fueled their hatred, the key events that shaped their war, and where their power stands today. Hit that like button and subscribe, because the deeper we go, the more unbelievable these stories get. Let's jump straight in. Origin La AME and Nuestra Familia. To understand the war, we must begin at the roots. La AME, the Mexican Mafia, was founded in 1957 inside Duell Vocational Institution in California by about a dozen incarcerated Hispanic gang members, led by Luis Huerobuff Flores. Their original goal? To protect Hispanic inmates from violence in prison. Over time, La AME's grip grew stronger. They developed a ruthless reputation, strict rules, and a reach that extended outside prison walls. In contrast, Nuestra Familia emerged in 1965 at Soledad Prison in Northern California. Many of its founding members came from rural, northern communities, workers, farmers, smaller towns, who felt mistreated or dominated by gang networks from the south, La AME's base. Importantly, as the Hispanic inmate population grew, they began to self-organize along regional lines, north versus south. That regional divide would become a central axis of conflict. In short, La AME equals Southern California, city origin, earlier foundation. Nuestra Familia equals Northern California, rural roots, later response. That geographic and cultural tension set the foundation for a decades-long feud. Ideology, structure, and code. Both gangs developed rigid internal codes, oaths, and chains of command. Understanding these is key to grasping how they maintained power and control. La AME is famous for its blood-in, blood-out rule. Once you enter, there is no exit except through death. Their rules include never cooperating with law enforcement, absolute loyalty, and strict punishment for betrayal. Their network extends to countless surrogate street gangs, Sureños, in Southern California. These are lower-level gangs that pledge loyalty and pay taxes to La AME. Nuestra Familia, too, has a constitution, written rules, and a hierarchical structure. They use symbols, red bandanas, the number 14 or portpoin because N is the 14th letter, and often images like a sombrero and machete. The NF also views loyalty as lifelong, forbids putting drugs, women, or money above the gang. These internal rules make them extremely disciplined, ruthless, and hard to infiltrate. The spark. Early conflicts. So how did the conflict begin? One key incident often cited is the shoe war around 1968 at San Quentin. A La AME member allegedly stole a pair of shoes from a Nuestra Familia sympathizer. That provoked a riot. 19 inmates were stabbed. One La AME associate died. That clash officially marked the start of full warfare between La AME and NF. Over time, skirmishes, targeted killings, and attacks within prisons became regular. Each side tried to assert dominance and protect its prison turf. The rivalry wasn't just symbolic, it was a fight for survival, respect, and control over gangs both inside and outside prison walls. Expansion and outside influence. One of the remarkable features is how both these prison gangs expanded influence beyond prisons into street-level operations. La AME. Many members after release returned to the streets and enforced La AME's rules through local Hispanic gangs. These gangs become surrogate foot soldiers, paying tribute, enforcing orders, collecting dues, and carrying out hits. The 13 or 14 or X3 symbol frequently stands for M, 13th letter, revering La AME. Meanwhile, Nuestra Familia aligns with Norteños, Northern California street gangs. Norteños and NF share loyalty and ideology. The NF also leverages connections with Mexican cartels and uses its network to traffic drugs, extort, and control criminal enterprises. In prison, both gangs ally or fight with other groups. La AME has had alliances with the Aryan Brotherhood against common enemies. NF sometimes aligns with Black Guerrilla Family, Bloods, or Crips in certain conflicts. The competition isn't just for physical turf. It's about influence, loyalty, money, and reputation. Major battles and turning points. Over the years, certain events marked turning points in the rivalry. Let's examine some of the major ones. Operation Black Widow, 2000s. A major federal crackdown on NF leadership. Around 22 members were indicted for racketeering and multiple murders. Leadership transfers. When top gang leaders are moved to supermax prisons or isolated units, it disrupts command and power balance. NF especially saw internal strife when its leadership was relocated out of California. Law enforcement raids and indictments. Both gangs have had waves of arrests, which open vacuums, betrayals, and shifts in alliances. Notorious murders. For example, La Ime's first ordered hit outside prison, Alfonso Pachi Alvarez in 1971, ordered by Joe Pegleg Morgan as a punishment over a dispute. Each confrontation reshaped the balance of power, often with backlash, retaliation, and cycles of violence. Power, money, and control. What do they fight for? The answer? Control. Control of gangs, control of markets, and control of loyalty. Drug trade and extortion. Both gangs demand taxes from street-level drug dealers in territories under their influence. Failure to pay can get you killed. Prison influence and control. Inside prisons, controlling yard groups, cell blocks, who gets protection, who can operate. In effect, they run their own parallel power structure. Communication and covert orders. Even while incarcerated, in isolation, leaders find ways, through coded plumbing taps, letters, messenger inmates, to send orders. Alliances and subcontracting. They sometimes outsource hits or collaborate with other gangs, e.g. the Aryan Brotherhood in some cases, to eliminate rivals. This web of control and influence is what sustains them, not brute force alone, but structure, loyalty, fear, and money. Recent trends and current status. So, where do they stand today? What's the status of La Ime and NF in the 2020s? Both gangs remain active, though law enforcement pressure has increased. La Ime continues its influence through Sureños and street gangs across Southern California, plus inside federal and state prisons. NF still commands loyalty in Northern California prisons and among Norteño-aligned street gangs. But internal fractures, leadership removals, and aggressive policing have caused power vacuums and instability in both camps. Some see a possible shift. Both gangs may be less centralized, more fractured, competing factions. A noteworthy point, the war remains symbolic and functional. Even when both gangs are weakened, the hatred, legacy, and structures remain. For many detained inmates, choosing sides is still life or death. What can we learn from this bitter, brutal rivalry? 1. Power structures thrive on loyalty, fear, and ideology. These gangs show how ideology, symbolism, and a code can build entire empires even in prisons. 2. Geographic cultural divides can seed conflicts. The North versus South, rural versus urban tension is more than geography. It's identity. 3. Control and money are inseparable. The war isn't purely violence, it's control of criminal ecosystems. 4. Cycle of violence is hard to break. Even with arrests, removal of leaders or policies, the underlying animosities and structures often regenerate. 5. Real human cost. Behind symbols and stories are lives, inmates, families, victims. The warfare destroys communities as much as it asserts power. What lies ahead? Some possible scenarios. Fragmentation. Both gangs may splinter into multiple factions, losing central coordination. New alliances or mergers. In face of strong law enforcement, gangs might align in new ways, perhaps NF and La Ime cooperating temporarily for mutual benefit. Digital warfare and decentralized control. Use of encrypted messaging outside proxies may grow. Decline or reformation. External social reforms, prison policy changes, activism, if strong enough, could weaken their recruitment and power. But no matter what, the legacy of La Ime versus Nuestra Familia is already etched into California's prison and street culture. And that brings us to the end of this intense journey into one of California's longest-running gang rivalries. La Ime and Nuestra Familia didn't just fight each other, they shaped entire generations, inside and outside prison walls. If you learned something new today, drop a comment, hit like, and make sure you're subscribed for more deep dive crime documentaries. Tell me what story you want next, and I'll bring it to the channel. Thanks for watching, see you soon.